Can you feel the energy? Come with me. Let's push it to the limit.
Good morning, Nashville, USA. Good afternoon, London, England. Good evening, Brisbane, Australia. G'day, world.
Back in 1939, when the British and the Germans were at war, the US had a Democrat president, Roosevelt, FDR. And what was FDR doing? The exact same thing as this Kenyan cockroach, sitting on the sideline providing moral support to Britain. And I want to remind you that World War II started in September of 1939, over 2 years before Pearl Harbor's day of infamy. Over 2 years before the US joined in, Winston Churchill had done his level best prior to Pearl Harbor to get the US government under FDR at the time to join with the Allies to fight the German machine as they advanced in Europe. America chose not to, and for reasons very similar to the reasons and excuses that are being pumped out here today. Winston Churchill was no coward when it came to standing up for his country. Churchill was the eternal British bulldog. He was a man of magnificent courage and resolve. He was a leader who inspired his people, not a leader who abandoned his people like this current enemy usurper we have. I remind you, the US got their game face on when Pearl Harbor happened. They got involved, and sadly after 9/11/2001, after the towers of New York, after the Pentagon, after Shanksville, we got our game face on again. However, after all the investigations we had, all the reports and all the facts came out, here we are once again slumbering like that great whale sunbathing upon the ocean. Here we are once again allowing ourselves to be part of that big fat soft underbelly, allowing our global enemies to do what the hell they choose to do. America right now is nutted, ballless, castrated and muted. Let me tell you that at the start of the war, on the 1st of September in 1939, the Allies fighting alongside Great Britain were France, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and they were joined shortly thereafter by British Commonwealth countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Newfoundland, and South Africa. Even Russia under Stalin joined in mid-1940 after Hitler chose to attack the Russian beast. America's contribution at the start of World War II was merely to supply munitions while they went about their lives here in America, almost immune to what was going on in Europe. During the Battle of Britain, in the summer of 1940, between July and October, London was bombed and the dockyards around the country were pummeled by the Nazi bombers. British citizens were on food rations. At night, their homes had to have their windows completely closed off with shutters or blankets to block out the chance of any light getting out to the outside world, because those lights would tell the German bomb crews where the population was. I know these stories firsthand because of what it was like in London during the Battle of Britain, during the Blitz. I know these stories firsthand because it was constantly bombed by the Germans. My dear mother, bless her, she was a Welsh nursing sister who worked in the hospital operating theatres in London at the time. And she told me how they went out with the folk, driving ambulances, rescuing their fellow countrymen, the injured and the maimed, bringing them back to the hospital for treatment, seeing the dead. And for 2 years, Britain hung on to the edge through sheer determination and under the resolute leadership of a true leader, Winston Churchill. Churchill walked those streets, those battered streets amongst the damaged and destroyed buildings. Churchill, at a time of dire urgency, was out there with his people, walking amongst the rubble and the ruins, comforting and encouraging his people. A leader, a true leader. And while London was bombed and bombed and bombed, what did the US do? America procrastinated. While the Japanese were fighting with the bloody Chinese, while the Japanese were flexing their muscles across in the Western Pacific with the Chinese, America lived the good life. And here we are today, the once most powerful nation on the planet, now following about like this lost 2-year-old that we are, wandering about lost. America, for God's sake, we can. And we must do better than this. We need to learn from our history. We need to get our game face on again. But we need proactiveness. We need to be a leader who is proactive. Sure, we cannot be the global sheriff, I know that. But we can't stand aside while the world is barbarically violated by these heinous, low-life ISIS.
I chose to become an American. I'm the newest voice by choice.
You're the voice trying to understand